working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, Malma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Thailand. Hello, Gila. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello, good afternoon, Alma, and good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm Gila Pablo, your EBC Thailand correspondent, bringing you the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, the Philippine Red Cross maintained that as recipient of some donations from agencies of the Philippine government, they have faithfully accounted for the use of such funds in compliance with the donor agency's liquidation and reportorial requirements.
Thailand plans to reopen Bangkok to fully vaccinated visitors in October, officials said Friday, as the kingdom seeks to salvage a tourism industry hammered by the pandemic.
China hands over to Cambodia a $150 million stadium in Phnom Penh, with officials saying it is the result of Beijing's biggest ever infrastructure grant to the country.
Singapore's zoo revealed the gender of its 4-week-old baby panda, the first cub to be born in the city-state during his father Kai's 14th birthday celebration.
First, here in the country, the Philippine Red Cross maintained that as recipient of some donations from agencies of the Philippine government, they have faithfully accounted for the use of such funds in compliance with the donor agency's liquidation and reportorial requirements. Now, these government agencies, in turn, are subject to annual audit by the Commission on Audit, according to the PRC in a statement issued a day after President Duterte threatened to scrutinize the financial records of the organization through the Commission on Audit, or COA, with respect to those funds coming from state agencies. To date, the PRC said that there has not been any adverse finding on any transaction whereby government funds were given to the PRC. The PRC also stressed reports of these donations may be obtained by the Office of the President directly from these government agencies, and audits on these government agencies, if any, may be secured from the Commission on Audit. To date, the PRC said that there has not been any adverse finding on their transaction whereby government's funds were given to the PRC.
President Duterte threatened to scrutinize the financial records of the humanitarian organization through the Commission on Audit, or COA, with respect to those funds coming from state agencies. Duterte made the call as he vented frustrations over the series of the hearings by the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee led by Senator Richard Gordon on the government's procurement of medical supplies amid the pandemic. Let's watch this.
Ito naman si Gordon. Itong si Gordon, malalim itong away namin. Talaga mag-aaway kami nito. He claims that the Red Cross is totally independent. Tapos sabi niya, because I'm looking for the annual reports. In the law sa Red Cross, creating the Red Cross, the Red Cross must submit to the President an annual report. Since then, wala akong natanggap. 6 na taon na ako, Mr. Senator Gordon. Nasaan na ang report? If it is totally independent, you are correct. But it is not totally independent because you have been receiving aid, financial aid, from the Republic of the Philippines. At ikaga nga, nagkukuha ka pa dyan sa PCSO ng pera. Now, any money belonging to the government of the Republic of the Philippines given to an agency, whatever be the nature, if you're operating here and you receive the money and spend it, you are accountable to the government, and therefore an audit is in order. Ngayon, kung ayaw mo, mapipilitan akong totally disassociate with you. I will stop government, the national government and all, from having transaction with you. Hindi ako pakialam, hindi ako magbigay ng pera sa iyo. Saka, as far as I'm concerned, Red Cross does not exist. And you can create a controversy there or a crisis. I do not mind because I said I am on the right track. Either you submit on auditing procedure or we quarrel. Kumusta ito si Gwendolyn Pang? That lady from Sulu na nag-join sa Red Cross. Okay, pakisagot lang nito. At pwede ka rin magsagot sa akin. Ako pa ang magbigay ng lista sa iyo.
Earlier, Presidential Spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said President Duterte has basis to urge COA to audit funds received by PRC. Citing Section 4.8 of COA Circular Number 93-003, Roque said PRC can be audited once the government requests COA to carry out a special audit of NGOs like PRC on case-to-case basis. President Duterte, however, acknowledged that COA earlier said it has no jurisdiction over PRC. He nevertheless said he is ready for a long legal battle to persuade COA to conduct an audit of PRC's financial records.
In a related news, Executive Secretary Salvador Medaldea urged the senators to just file the necessary cases against the government over the alleged overpriced COVID pandemic purchase instead of wasting officials' time. Now, a surge has been going on for several days now, and yet key officials in charge of protecting our people from this surge are being required to attend hearings for an alleged grand plunder, according to Medaldea. As of Friday, Medaldea said 5 hearings have been conducted and another hearing is set again on Monday. Medaldea said the hearings have taken up so much time of officials directly involved in the government's COVID-19 pandemic response. And this also at a time when the country is struggling to arrest a surge of infections, topping 20,000 daily in recent days. Medaldea said the ongoing Senate hearings have to date shown nothing to prove their case except to surround it with speculations drawn from bullying or resource persons, most of whom have already been criminally condemned without due process. He urged senators to go over the provisions of the Bayanihan law, noting that it already provides for the Office of the President to render a weekly report to the Senate and the House for all purchases and all other activities related to the pandemic.
And it's preparing to open up its tourism industry by October. Here's Veronica Carino, our EBC Thailand correspondent. Veronica.
Good afternoon, Gila, and to all of our viewers. Yes, according to a key advisor to COVID or Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, the next 2 weeks will be critical in deciding whether to ease further restriction on businesses and activities at the end of the month. According to Dr. Udom Kachinton, the CCSA will not suspend all operations on September 15 to ensure that the situation remains under control. On September 1, the government took some initial steps towards or toward normalcy, which experts says may result in an increase in infection as people reinteract. Dr. Udom added that the recent drop in daily cases to 15,000 is the result of the July 20 lockdown and vaccinations. He said, and I quote, since the lockdown was eased on September 1, the declining trend has flattened and cases will start to rise. Therefore, we must rely on public precautions and universal prevention efforts. Every week, state agencies and private sectors must undertake random spot tests, unquote. As demonstrated in America and Europe, having a large portion of people receive 2 vaccine doses do not always result in lower infection rates. Thailand's Public Health Ministry said on Monday morning that there were 12,583 new COVID-19 cases and 132 new fatalities in the previous 24 hours. In the general population, there were 12,420 cases and 163 in prison inmates. This update is from Bangkok Post. Back to you, Gila.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for that update. Stay safe.
Thank you, Gila. And likewise, reporting live from Thailand, I am Veronica Carino, and we live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, Thailand plans to reopen Bangkok fully to visitors in October, to fully vaccinated visitors in October, according to officials, as the kingdom seeks to salvage a tourism industry hammered by the pandemic. Now, before COVID, tourism made up a fifth of Thailand's national income, but several travel curbs imposed to fight the virus saw the usual flood of foreign visitors dwindle to almost nothing, contributing to the economy's worst performance in over 20 years. The kingdom is pressing ahead with plans to reopen despite a deadly third wave of infections driven by the Delta variant. The tourism industry of Thailand said that from October 1, fully jabbed foreign travelers will be able to visit Bangkok and 4 other provinces without undergoing 2 weeks hotel quarantine. Instead, the 5 areas, also including Chiang Mai, Chonburi, Phetchaburi, and Prachuap Khiri Khan provinces, are expected to follow a sandbox model of the type piloted since July in the holiday island of Phuket. Under the the sandbox scheme, tourists have to stay within a certain area for 7 days after arrival and take COVID tests. Later in October 21, more destinations will be added to the list, including Chiang Rai, Sukhothai, and popular seaside getaway Rayong. But Thailand's third and deadliest COVID wave has not yet fully subsided, and the tourism agency warned the plans could change.
Staying in Thailand, business leaders in Phuket bets for the full reopening of its tourism industry by December 1. Here's Ian Tilada for more updates. Ian?
Governor issued a Phuket Provincial Number 54092564 that will take effect starting on September 15 to September 28. This new order has the following restrictions in different facilities. These are the institutions or venues that will remain closed. All educational institutions on the island, however, pilot teachings and organizing activities of not more than 5 students in private school under the Phuket Safety School Sandbox are permitted to conduct classes. All pubs and bars and other entertainment venues, computer game shops, and internet cafes. And these are the institutions or venues that can now operate under the new order. Swimming pools for public use or operated by the government offices, private use, boxing schools, and all kinds of martial arts. Restaurants and other food shops can operate now with usual hours without serving or selling alcohol. Drinking alcohol in public areas has been emphasized as prohibited in the entire country. Fresh market and a flea market must control the number of consumers and keep practicing the social distancing. Maximum of 100 people are still allowed to gather an event, except holding a mass vaccination. Convenience store can operate only from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sports field or places for outdoor exercise, parks, courtyards, open-air public activity areas, and even places of indoor exercise will be opened until 9 p.m. with a limit of people and fully vaccinated. All the government offices and other workplaces will implement work from home if necessary. Government officers are not allowed to leave the island unless it is urgent business and may do a written consent that is approved by the superior officers. And Gilad, another update here in Phuket is the Phuket tourism industry. Leaders presented a formal proposal to fully reopen the island for tourism on December 1 under the campaign called Phuket Freedom Day. This proposal was given to the Tourism Authority of Thailand. The proposal is based on the implementation of giving booster shot by the end of October. According to Mr. Tonosak Hongdit, the Phuket Chamber of Commerce president, if that can be achieved, we can fully open the island and treat the COVID-19 like a cold. Sheila, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ian, for that update. You stay safe there in Phuket.
Thank you, Gila. Reporting live from Phuket, Thailand is Ian Salada, and we'll live in interesting times.
Now, since the February coup in Myanmar, many tried to cross, even illegally, to the border of Thailand to escape. Myanmar has been in turmoil since the February coup that ousted Aung San Suu Kyi's government. Here's Gladys Pinuela joining us live from Thailand to tell us more. Hello, Gladys.
Hello, Alma. Now, 5 Myanmar men and a woman were arrested for entering illegally in Kanchanaburi, Thailand. On board a pickup vehicle driven by a certain Tehikan Chanruang, the 6 migrants were arrested by a joint operation led by military and police along Bong Tai Sai Sok Road at 6:30 in the morning. According to the migrants, they were bound to Sampran, district of Nakhon Pathom province for job purposes. They said they traveled across the border from towns of Dawi and Bago in Myanmar to reach the district of Sampran. Migrants also explained that each of them paid a broker amounting to 18 to 20,000 baht for a job promise. On the other hand, the 28-year-old driver of the vehicle said she was to be paid 3,000 baht per head the moment those migrants will be brought to their workplace. Those migrants were now under the custody of Sayu police station and will be charged with illegal entry and violating the Communicable Disease Act, while the driver was charged with providing assistance to illegal migrants. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much for your update, Gladys, and looking forward for more updates coming out of Myanmar and Thailand. Thank you.
Yeah, stay safe, Alma. And from
Stay
Thailand,
safe.
this is Gladys Pinuela. We live in interesting times.
Myanmar troops killed several members of a local defense force in a day of clashes, the junta said Friday, with local residents and media reporting at least 10 dead. Junta troops were attacked with small arms and homemade guns as they entered Miantar village in the western Magway region on Thursday, according to Army spokesman Zaw Min Tan. The soldiers who were searching for members of a local People Defense Force had killed a number of fighters, he said, without giving an exact figure, adding they had seized 23 guns. On Tuesday, around a dozen military-owned communications towers were destroyed. The same day, a shadow government working to reverse the coup called for a people's defensive war against the junta. The National Unity Government, which claims to be the country's legitimate government, is made up of dissident lawmakers in hiding or exile, many of them from ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi's party. The country has been in turmoil since a February coup and a military crackdown on dissent that has killed more than 1,000 people, according to a local monitoring group. In some areas, locals, often using hunting rifles or homemade weapons, have formed defense forces to fight back.
In other news, the Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez has endorsed tweaking of the community quarantine protocols by allowing more mobility for fully vaccinated individuals. During President Duterte's talk to the people, aired over the weekend, Secretary Lopez told the president that it is about time to change the protocol in terms of easing some restrictions for the vaccinated population. Let's listen in.
The need to have a different approach dito sa ating pag-solve sa COVID, hindi lang lockdown. We proposed twice sa IATF na at least i-allow na yung mga vaccinated. I think some senators, congressmen also said, palapasin na natin yung mga vaccinated, lalo na dun sa mga areas na bawal sa ngayon. Ngayon, kunwari, under MECQ, bawal yung mga restaurant na dine-in, bawal yung mga personal care services like salon, barbershops. These are labor-intensive. Itong sector na ito, mga 2 million ang employed sa restaurant, mga dine-in, ang mga salon, mga 400,000. So, nationwide. If you look into NCR lang po, even if you divide it, malaki pa rin, 1.2 million employed. So, these sectors have been closed since August 6, nung nag-ECQ, and after that, nag-MECQ tayo, pero ginawang sarado pa rin siya. And fine, kasi mataas yung kaso nga noon. Unfortunately, tumagal ng tumagal, more than 1 month na. So sabi nga nung mga nagtatrabaho dyan, hindi nga kami mamatay ng COVID, mamatay kami ng gutom, ng hunger. So ang iniisip po natin, safe reopening, especially during itong MECQ, yung middle ground is para safe, we allow only the vaccinated.
Staying in the Philippines, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. and his American counterpart, State Secretary Antony Blinken, are seeking to ramp up the two nations' bilateral engagement. In a statement on Saturday, the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said the top diplomats agreed to hold their bilateral strategic dialogue, or BSD, in November, and the 2+2 ministerial dialogue in early 2022. The BSD is a key mechanism for consultation and exchange of views on a broad range of bilateral, regional, and global issues, and discussion on political, security, and economic cooperation between Manila and Washington, D.C. The 2+2 ministerial dialogue, on the other hand, involves a joint meeting between the foreign and defense ministers of the two countries.
In other news, some 2.5 million Jakarta residents have not been vaccinated against COVID-19. That according to its Jakarta governor, Anies Baswedan. Now, he said most of them have not been vaccinated because they're not willing to get vaccinated for various reasons. He also said efforts will now be made to persuade the unvaccinated residents to receive their jabs in order to complete the program in Jakarta soon. Meanwhile, the chief of the Indonesian Ulemas Council, or MUI branch in Jagakarsa Subdistrict, Sulaiman Rohimin, said his side has set up a vaccination center to help the provincial government accomplish the vaccination drive. He also said almost 1,300 people come to the vaccination center to get their jabs every day, surpassing the daily target of 1,000 people a day. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Gina and I will be back right after this.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business from vision to action.
Welcome back to the program. China hands over to Cambodia a $150 million stadium in Phnom Penh, with officials saying it is the result of Beijing's biggest ever infrastructure grant to the country. The presentation of the arena, intended as the main venue when Cambodia hosts the Southeast Asian or SEA Games in 2023, is made by China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi on a visit. Let's watch this. Cambodia's Tourism Minister Thong Khon said the $150 million stadium represented China's largest ever grant to Cambodia for an infrastructure project. Located in Cambodia's capital, the Morodok Peko National Stadium resembles a sailing ship, symbolizing the two nations' long-standing friendship as Chinese people used to travel to Cambodia by boat. Prime Minister Hun Sen has in recent years faced criticism over his reliance on Beijing, but he defended their relationship Sunday, saying China was a trusted and respected friend. During Wang Yi's visit, Hun Sen said Cambodia and China also signed several new deals in which Beijing promised a total of $250 million for the country's development projects. Wang Yi later pledged to continue supporting Cambodia's infrastructure expansion. He added China had never set political conditions in its cooperation with Cambodia. Cambodia has long been a staunch Beijing ally, receiving billions of dollars in soft loans and investments. China has also supplied Phnom Penh with nearly 28 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, including a donation of 4.3 million jabs.
Meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi also met Vietnam's Communist Party leader Nguyen Phu Trong, according to Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh and also his counterpart Bui Tai Son during his visit to the Southeast Asian country earlier, with the aim of boosting bilateral relations. Now, Wang said on Friday that China will give 3 million more doses of COVID vaccines to Vietnam this year, bringing the total number of vaccines that China will give to Vietnam to 5.7 million doses. Both sides have also agreed to avoid any unilateral action that may complicate the situation and will jointly maintain peace and stability on the South China Sea. According to China's Global Times report, visiting Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi said China and Vietnam should avoid taking any unilateral actions that would complicate the situation or expand the dispute in the South China Sea, and to keep alert to external forces' interventions and attempts to sow discord between the two countries. It added that Wang's visit to Vietnam, part of his week-long Southeast Asian tour, came about 2 weeks after U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris's trip to the region. But China said, unlike Washington's attempt to pit regional countries against China by lip services and vague promises, Beijing has a clear mind on boosting relations with neighbors to achieve a win-win cooperation, according to observers. Now, official data revealed that bilateral trade reached $133 billion in 2020, up 13.8% year on year. China continues to be the biggest trade partner of Vietnam. Meanwhile, Vietnam ranks sixth on China's trade partner list from eighth in the previous year.
The province of Batanes remained largely isolated, and some areas of Pampanga are still swamped in flood waters. The government said on Sunday as it sustained the relief efforts in the aftermath of the twin typhoons that lashed Luzon and the Visayas, killing at least 17 people. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, said that telecommunication signals in 4 of the 6 towns and municipalities of Batanes are still down. Floods in some areas of Pampanga, including the 17 villages of Macabebe, have not subsided yet as a result of the heavy rains brought by Typhoon Kiko. According to a Business Mirror report, landslides were also reported in some areas of La Union and in Apayao, still due to the typhoon which pummeled northern and central Luzon, affecting at least 2,780 families or 11,145 individuals, while forcing the preemptive evacuation of 1,742 families or 5,112 persons. The NDRRMC said that while Kiko spawned flooding and landslides, minimal damage was initially reported, in contrast with Typhoon Julina, which has killed 17 people, although most of the casualties are still being verified. At least 24 others have also been reported injured, and 7 others are still missing. Julina affected mostly central Luzon, southern Tagalog, and Bicol region, and regions 6, 7, and 8, where severe flooding occurred in Laguna and in Leyte, Samar, and Antique.
Meanwhile, the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council confirmed their 3 deaths by drowning when Typhoon Julina slammed the country early last week. Take a look. Now, reports of 14 deaths, 5 injured, and 3 missing are still undergoing validation, according to the NDRRMC. The 3 confirmed fatalities were all males from Marinduque, although it wasn't clear yet when the incident happened. NDRRMC also said that the number of individuals affected by Julina has reached 313,373.
The southwest monsoon affecting Luzon and the Intertropical Convergence Zone, or ITCZ, affecting southern Mindanao will bring rains over parts of these islands, the Weather Bureau said on Monday. Let's watch this.
Si Bagyong Kiko na may Kanina pong alas 3 ng madaling araw, ito ay nasa layong 790 kilometers hilaga ng Itbayat, Batanes, at patungo po yan dyan sa may eastern coast ng China. Bagamat nakalayo na, ito ay humihina pa rin sa habagat or southwest monsoon na nakakaapekto sa malaking bahagi ng Luzon. Liban po dito, ang ITZZ or Intertropical Convergence Zone ay nakakaapekto naman sa may southern part ng Mindanao. In the next 2 to 3 days, wala po tayong inaasahang pagkabuo ng bagyo sa palibot at sa loob ng Philippine Area of Responsibility, pero posibleng isang low pressure area ang mabuo sa silangan ng Visayas at Mindanao within the next 2 to 3 days.
Now, scattered rain, showers, and thunderstorms will be experienced over Ilocos region, Region 4B, Mimaropa, Zamboanga Peninsula, Bangsamoro, Batanes, Babuyan Islands, Zambales, Bataan, Abra, and Benguet. Flash floods or landslides are possible due to heavy to at times intense rains. The southwest monsoon, as well as localized thunderstorms, will cause isolated rain showers over Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Moderate to strong winds and moderate to rough seas will prevail over Luzon. Elsewhere, winds will be light to moderate with slight to moderate seas. As we heard earlier, Rojas said Pag-asa is not expecting any tropical cyclone to develop within and near the Philippine area of responsibility in the next 2 to 3 days. However, a low pressure area may develop east of the Visayas or Mindanao.
In other news, an official of the National Irrigation Administration, or NIA, said last Sunday the 39-year-old Magat Dam remains intact and that no major deformities or damages were observed in the past several days. Take a look. Now, Acting Manager Carlos C. Ablan of the Magat River Integrated Irrigation System, or MARIS Dam and Reservoir Division, pointed to the modern equipment in place in the MARIS as of a source of assurance. Ablan cited they also installed new instruments such as dam deformation monitoring system, serving as an online monitoring tool which produces data points every 30 minutes for the covered structure. He explained that any abnormalities on the structure will be tracked right away and be acted upon even before the dam breaks. Moreover, Ablan said NIA ensured that it has an existing contingency plan for the Magat Dam located in the municipality of Ramon, Isabela.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, officially opened on Monday classes in public and private schools nationwide for the school year 2021 to 2022. In her welcome speech, Education Secretary Leonor Briones said this year's opening of classes is the second in the time of COVID and a celebration of last school year's success. Since the start of the pandemic, the DepEd created a learning continuity plan where essential learning competencies had to be reduced from over 15,000 to 5,000 and modules were developed. Digital learning tools were developed as face-to-face classes remained suspended due to the threat of more transmissible coronavirus variants. To date, 24,600,000 and 822 million learners have enrolled in private and public schools nationwide. Based on the latest data from DepEd's Learner Information System Quick Count, about 20,046,495 learners have enrolled and 4,557,327 registered early as of June 2. Meanwhile, 198,297 learners have enrolled in the alternative learning system.
To Vietnam now, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh Sunday launched a mobilization program to provide computers and telecommunication services to disadvantaged pupils and students across the country. Now, present at the launching ceremony included Deputy Prime Minister Lee Min Khai, President of the Vietnam Fatherland Front Central Committee, Do Van Chien, Head of the Party Central Committee's Commission for Propagation and Education, Do Van Chien, and former Vice State President Nguyen Thi Duan. The program targets to mobilize 1 million computers in the first stage 2021 for pupils and students of poor and near poor households, especially those in localities currently undergoing social distancing. In the next stage, from 2022 to 2023, the program aims to mobilize all social resources to realize the goal of providing computers to all pupils and students of poor and near poor households nationwide. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Pham emphasized that safety of the pupils and students must be placed first. Thus, schools will only be reopened when safety is ensured. As the COVID-19 pandemic is still evolving complicatedly, 26 out of 63 cities and provinces have to switch to online learning as part of measures to contain the spread of the virus.
Stay with us for more news, and I will be back after this short break.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon at inspirasyon ang hapon mo sa Afternoon Power. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Sasabay sa inyong tanghalian ang inyong Happy Time Barkada at 12 noon. Alamin ang mga pangyayari sa ASEAN nations, ASEAN in Focus at 2 p.m. Ang inyong paboritong awit komentaryo kasama si Leo Obligar sa Piskante ng Bayan. At mga balita sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa hatid sa atin sa Aguila Probinsya. Siksik ang hapon mo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes ang inyong Afternoon Power sa Net25.
Walang hanggan, sabi niya sa'kin. O bakit kay dali niyang limutin?
Hello, this is Mike Maniago. At may tuto pa rin tayong isang letter sender request ngayong linggo, September 19, sa Letters and Music, 1 to 2 p.m. dito lang sa Net25. See you!
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. Long-term investments made by foreign investors in the country are expected to rise in the coming months as economies and logistics normalize in other parts of the world, a local economist said. In his note, following the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP announcement of the Philippines Foreign Direct Investment or FDI numbers, Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation or RCBC economist Michael Ricafort said the worst is likely over for the country's FDI. FDIs are investments made by foreign players to the Philippines in the hopes of long-term return. Since these are in the country for a longer term compared to their short-term counterpart, the foreign portfolio investments or FDIs usually create jobs for Filipinos and have a multiplayer effect on the economy. The BSP reported on Friday that FDIs to the country hit $4.3 billion in the first semester of the year. This represents a 40.7% increase from the $3.1 billion net inflows in the same period in 2020.
Meanwhile, Asian markets mostly fell on Monday following another retreat on Wall Street as a surge in U.S. inflation to a record high ramped up concerns the Federal Reserve will be forced to tighten monetary policy sooner than later. Reports that President Joe Biden was considering a fresh trade probe into China added to the downbeat mood and nullified the optimism sparked by news that he had held talks on Friday with President Xi Jinping in a bid to smooth relations between the superpowers. After driving a healthy run-up in Asia so far this month, investor sentiment once again roiled by data on Friday showing U.S. factory gate inflation had soared in August to an all-time high of 8.3%, owing to a jump in demand as well as supply and labor shortages. Hong Kong led the losses with tech firms again taking much of the heat on lingering concerns about China's crackdown on the sector, while Tokyo, Singapore, Seoul, Taipei, Manila, and Jakarta were also down. However, there were small gains in Sydney, Shanghai, and Wellington.
Some 13,918 barangays across the country have benefited from different livelihood programs of the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI. Reporting to President Rodrigo Duterte over the weekend, Secretary Ramon Lopez said DTI extended livelihood training and assistance to 154,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. Lopez said the DTI assists local and overseas workers who were displaced from their jobs amid the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID 19 pandemic. The Livelihood Seeding Program provides livelihood kits worth 5,000 pesos to 10,000 pesos, while the programa sa pangkabuhayan sa pagbangon at ginhawa conducts trainings in entrepreneurs kit to those affected by calamities, has provided 24,000 livelihood kits and assisted 26,930.
And finally, in our news, Singapore Zoo revealed the gender of its 4-week-old baby panda, the first cub to be born in the city-state during his father Kai Kai's 14th birthday celebration. The giant panda enthusiastically tore into candles and presents filled with hay and food pellets before pulling onto a piñata. Take a look. Thank you, Gila, for keeping me company as always. Thank you.
You're very much welcome, and you stay safe. You're very much welcome, Alma, and you stay safe there always.
Thank you.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Gila Pablo, your EBC Thailand correspondent, and we live in interesting times.
And that's it for today's broadcast. We'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place. You're on ASEAN in Focus. I'm Mama Angeles. We live in interesting times.